Welcome to my channel. The first thing I noticed was the perfume. It wasn't mine. It was her scent, Elise's signature floral, sweet but sharp, lingering in the air like a warning. I woke up to it before I even opened my eyes, and that should have been the first clue that something was wrong. Then came the mirror. I stumbled to it, half asleep, expecting my usual reflection, messy hair, tired eyes, a face I recognized. But the face staring back wasn't mine. It was hers. Elise's perfect, smooth skin. Her high cheekbones. The subtle curve of her lips that always made me envy her. My own hands. Smaller, softer, delicate, like porcelain dolls. I recoiled. A scream caught in my throat. "Good morning," a voice purred behind me. I spun around. Elise stood there, arms crossed, smirking like she'd planned this for years. And maybe she had. I remembered our fight. Something so small it seemed ridiculous now. A borrowed sweater, a spilled drink, a sarcastic comment that had set her off. I had laughed it off. She hadn't. "You've always been better at being you than me," she said slowly, circling me. "But today, we're equal. Or maybe you'll be me." My heart slammed against my ribs. What did you do?" She just smiled. No answer. She never needed one. The transformation was already complete. Every movement I made felt alien. My legs were slimmer, my waist narrower, my shoulders smaller. Even walking across my bedroom felt different, the subtle sway of my hips, the lightness in my step. I felt as if I were inhabiting someone else's body entirely. I caught sight of my hands again. Long fingers, delicate wrists. I flexed them slowly, mesmerized and terrified. The reflection in the mirror moved with me, perfectly synchronized, smiling with that infuriating confidence only Elise had. Panic surged first. My mind scrambled for explanations. Witchcraft? Science experiment? Some cruel prank? Nothing made sense. Then came a strange curiosity, a dangerous pull. Her beauty, her poise, the way she carried herself. I could feel it. I could be her. Not just look like her, but step into her world, feel her confidence, her magnetism. I hated that thought immediately. And yet, a part of me thrilled at it. Elise sat on my bed, arms crossed, watching me fumble with my reflection. "See," she said. "You already look amazing. And this is just the beginning. We're twins now. Not just sisters, identical." I felt fury, embarrassment, disbelief, all at once. I wanted to scream, to run, to escape this new reality. But deep down, I couldn't stop staring at my reflection. "Why are you doing this?" I demanded. "Revenge," she said simply, grinning. "And maybe, a little fun." Her laughter echoed in the room. I realized with a sinking feeling that my life as I knew it had ended. Hours passed. I couldn't tear myself away from the mirror. Every detail, every subtle resemblance to her, my eyes, my lips, my hair, was exact. Even my gestures were changing, becoming hers. I lifted my hand and flexed my fingers. Reflexively, they curved the way hers always did. I touched my cheeks, my chin, my lips. Panic surged again. This isn't me. This isn't me. And yet, I felt a strange satisfaction. I was terrified. I was furious. I hated her. But I couldn't deny it. I looked perfect. I looked like her. And somewhere, deep down, I wanted to see how far this could go. The transformation wasn't just physical. It was psychological, invasive, thrilling. I had become someone else. And she had made me her twin. The next morning, the world felt different. Every reflection, every shadow, every casual glance from my parents or friends became a test. I wasn't me anymore. I was Elise's twin. And everyone could tell. I sat at the breakfast table, staring at my hands. Delicate. Perfect. Just like hers. Mom looked at me with a confused frown. You look different," she said slowly. "Are you feeling all right?" I wanted to scream, to explain, to insist that this wasn't real. But even my voice had changed, higher, softer, smoother. The words that came out sounded like her. Elise smiled from across the table, calm, triumphant. It's working, she said, sipping her tea. I could feel every pair of eyes in the room shifting toward me. My presence had changed. Even casual conversation felt like a spotlight. I tried to shrug, to laugh it off, but each movement reminded me that I was no longer myself. By the time I got to school, it was impossible to ignore. Friends stared, whispering, pointing out differences they couldn't quite name. "Wow, you look just like her," said one friend, voice hushed. "Like twins," another added, eyes wide. I felt my cheeks burn, my stomach knot. Even the hallway seemed different. Every glance, every whisper, every passing smile reminded me that my life had been hijacked by Elisa's revenge. I tried to act normal, to move casually, to blend in, but my body betrayed me. The sway of my hips, the tilt of my shoulders, the curve of my lips when I smiled, all unmistakably hers. By lunchtime, it had escalated. Whispers followed me down the hall. Strangers noticed. Some admired. Some mocked. Every comment, every look, was amplified by the fact that I now looked exactly like Elise. Even teachers seemed to hesitate, caught off guard by the transformation. The usual authority I had felt in class was gone, replaced by awkward curiosity and subtle stares. I caught snippets of conversation. "Isn't that? She looks exactly like Elise. Did something happen to her?" I wanted to vanish. I wanted the floor to swallow me whole. And yet, a part of me couldn't stop watching, couldn't stop observing the power this new appearance commanded. Coming home was no relief. My parents were both visibly shaken. My father kept clearing his throat, avoiding eye contact. My mother studied me intently, her fingers tapping nervously against the counter. Elise, of course, was smug. "You're doing great," she said, voice teasing. "See how everyone reacts. You're basically me now. Perfectly." I felt a mix of fury and helplessness. I hated her. I resented every inch of this change. And yet, in the quiet moments when no one was looking, I had to admit, it felt strange, powerful, thrilling. That night, I locked myself in my room and stared at the mirror. My reflection had fully adapted to Elisa's features. My expressions mirrored hers. Even my posture, gestures, and subtle facial movements had started to mimic her almost instinctively. Panic surged. Who was I anymore? Was I still me, or had her revenge succeeded in rewriting who I was entirely? Yet, as I examined myself, I realized something terrifying. I was starting to enjoy it. Every soft curve, every graceful movement, every glance felt intoxicating. I hated that it thrilled me. I hated that part of me wanted to see how far this could go. By the end of the week, I had stopped resisting publicly. I moved through the world with tentative confidence, learning how to inhabit this twin identity while trying to maintain a shred of my original self. At school, friends whispered and stared, but I began to experiment subtly, tilting my head like Elise, walking with a delicate sway, using gestures that drew attention. It was exhausting and exhilarating all at once. At home, Elise watched silently, satisfied, her revenge complete, but something unexpected happened. I began to feel a strange connection, a shared understanding. We were twins now, not just in appearance but in unspoken power over perception, over presence. And that scared me even more than the initial transformation. After the week at school, I realized the hardest battles were happening in private. Alone in my room, I could feel the transformation settling deeper, not just physically but mentally. Elisa's face, her gestures, her subtle ways of moving and speaking were no longer an external template. They were creeping into me, becoming part of who I was. I locked the door behind me and leaned against it, breathing slowly. The apartment felt smaller, the world outside irrelevant. Only the mirror mattered. Standing before it, I examined every detail. My hair fell in perfect waves, identical to hers, catching the sunlight in a golden shimmer. My eyes, the shape, the sparkle, the way they seemed to glimmer with mischief, were hers completely. My lips curved in a soft smile that wasn't mine, yet it felt natural, as though my face had finally learned how to move correctly. I lifted my hands, flexing my fingers, tracing my jawline, tilting my chin. Each motion revealed subtle changes: the delicate slope of my shoulders, the narrow curve of my waist, the soft swell of my hips. I was no longer me. I was Elise, and yet I was still somehow myself, somewhere beneath the surface. Drawn to the closet, I hesitated. Elise's clothes were different, soft fabrics, fitted tops, skirts that flowed effortlessly. I picked a silky blouse and a short skirt, feeling the smoothness of the fabric against my skin. Sliding into them, I noticed my body adapting naturally. The skirt hugged my hips the way hers would, the blouse draped perfectly over my shoulders. I twirled slowly in front of the mirror. My reflection followed every movement with precision, a perfect twin of Elise. I could almost hear her smug voice echoing, "See? You're mine now." The thrill was intoxicating. The fear and anger from earlier days mingled with something else. Curiosity, excitement, a strange pride in my new appearance. I spent hours experimenting with gestures. Every tilt of the head, flick of the hair, sway of the hips felt purposeful. Even my sitting posture changed, cross-legged, delicate, poised. I could feel the subtle influence of Elise in my spine, in the way I leaned, in the way I carried my weight. It was addictive. Each tiny improvement in posture or motion reinforced the transformation, making it harder to distinguish where she ended and I began. Next came my voice. Alone, I practiced speaking softly, elongating syllables, mimicking the tonal quality Elise used naturally. I laughed softly, experimenting with inflection, learning how to express confidence, mischief, or curiosity without moving a muscle other than my lips and eyes. Facial expressions followed naturally. A slight arch of the brow, a teasing glance, a soft smile. I noticed how subtle gestures changed the perception of my identity, making me feel powerful even in isolation. Hours turned into nights. Alone, I experimented with different outfits, hairstyles, makeup. I tried small cosmetics, blush, mascara, eyeliner, observing how subtle touches could enhance my resemblance to Elise. My reflection became a partner in exploration, echoing each movement, each pose, each expression. Fear lingered. A deep, quiet fear that this was irreversible, that I might never be myself again. Yet, the thrill of exploration, the intoxicating pleasure of seeing her twin in the mirror, pushed the fear aside. It wasn't just the physical mimicry that terrified me. My mind was changing too. Thoughts, reflexes, subtle habits, ways of speaking, laughing, tilting my head, crept in, borrowed from Elise. It was a slow invasion, almost imperceptible, but undeniable. I realized with a shiver that revenge wasn't just physical. Elise had forced me to inhabit her world, her body, her persona, and I was starting to enjoy it. By the end of the week, the urge to test this identity outside my room grew unbearable. A short walk to the corner store, some casual conversation, even the possibility of being noticed by friends or strangers. It thrilled me and terrified me in equal measure. I practiced every detail meticulously, gestures, posture, facial expressions. I wanted to perfect my twin persona before exposing it to the world. The thought of walking through the streets as Elise's twin, fully embodying her image, sent shivers down my spine. By midnight, I realized the truth. I was obsessed. Obsessed with her face, her body, her gestures, her power over perception. Obsessed with what I could become. Elise had taken revenge, and in doing so, had given me something I never expected, the ability to explore a version of myself I could never have imagined. And deep down, a forbidden curiosity whispered, maybe I didn't want to go back. The weekend arrived with an almost tangible tension in the air. I had practiced in private long enough, every gesture, every tilt of my head, every subtle sway of my hips, but now came the real test. The outside world didn't care about experiments or private exploration. It would notice. It would judge. And Elise. She would watch. She had arranged it without telling me, a small gathering at a friend's house. Casual, she said. But I knew better. The moment I walked through that door, the spotlight would be on me. On us. The doorbell rang, and I froze, heart hammering. Elise smirked knowingly. Remember, she whispered, you are me. Confidence. Presence. Twin perfection. I took a deep breath, adjusted my blouse, smoothed my hair, and stepped out. From the moment I entered, I felt it, the stares, the whispers, the subtle shifting of eyes. Friends I had known for years paused mid-conversation. Strangers glanced twice, heads turning. Some smiled. Some blinked in disbelief. And everywhere I looked, Elisa's influence guided me. My posture, my expression, my movements, all precise, deliberate, perfect. I was a mirror of her, and the world noticed. It wasn't long before someone approached, curiosity barely contained. You look exactly like Elise," one girl said, voice low, awestruck. I nodded, smile soft but deliberate. Every word, every gesture, reinforced the twin persona I had been inhabiting. Elise watched silently from across the room, arms crossed, a smug grin on her face. She didn't need to speak. I already understood. Every glance, every whispered remark, was a confirmation of her revenge, and mine simultaneously. Then it happened. A glass slipped from my hand, teetered on the edge of the counter. My stomach sank. All eyes turned. Heart racing, I froze for a second that felt like eternity. And then, instinctively, I recovered. The glass was steady in my hand. My movements were smooth, graceful, deliberate. Murmurs of surprise spread through the room. I had transformed potential embarrassment into a display of poise. Even I couldn't believe it. I retreated to a quiet corner for a moment, breathing deeply. My reflection in the windowpane caught my attention. Who was I now? The reflection stared back. Elisa's face, my eyes, a perfect fusion. Fear surged. Fury too. I wanted my old self back. But beneath the fear, something else stirred: pride, power, thrill. I realized then that the transformation wasn't just physical. It had seeped into my mind, my behavior, my instincts. I wasn't just wearing her skin. I was learning to inhabit her world, her presence, her confidence. Elise approached, calm, her eyes gleaming with triumph. "You're amazing," she said softly, voice almost approving. "I didn't think you'd pull it off so completely. You're me." I wanted to hit her, scream at her, demand my old life back. But instead, I looked at my reflection in the window beside her, and for the first time, I understood. I was enjoying it. The control, the power, the thrill, it was intoxicating. "You wanted revenge," I whispered, almost to myself. "But I think I understand now." Elisa's grin widened. "Good. That's the point." The party continued around us. People stared, whispered, admired. I could feel the room reacting to me in a way it never had before. The choice became clear: hide my new self, resist the change, or embrace it fully. I chose the latter. Every step I took, every gesture I made, reinforced the persona. Confidence radiated from me effortlessly. People noticed. Friends, strangers, even Elise herself. Approval, admiration, surprise, awe. It wasn't just about looking like her anymore. It was about becoming someone who could command attention, exude confidence, and embrace transformation unapologetically. Later that night, alone in the car ride home, I reflected. Fear, fury, and humiliation had transformed into empowerment. I had been forced into a twin identity as revenge, but in doing so, I had discovered a strength I didn't know existed. Elisa's plan had succeeded, yes, but unexpectedly, I had gained more than she could have imagined: mastery of presence, confidence, and a boldness I had never felt before. By the time I reached home, I knew one truth: I could never go back entirely. The sister's revenge had changed me, but I was ready to see where it would take me.